Here on the Daybreak, as of course we do get to start off your mornings with the freshest information, and of course regardless of how your mornings do get heated up with the jam outside, with all the issues that are of course currently transpiring in Uganda, we are here to make sense of them, put them into context, break them down for you so that you can be able to understand them more and more, and that is equipping you with the knowledge that you do need to have when it comes to your country, Uganda, when it comes to your government, and of course your mandate and also your power as a citizen of Uganda. Now, as I did promise earlier on, today we'll be discussing issues of the NRM manifesto, looking at so far the 2 years out of the 5 on how the NRM government has performed after being given another mandate in the year 2021, and that was in the general election that the President Yoweri Museveni did win. We understand that for the past 2 years the NRM has been working on their manifesto, and that is why we are here to look at some of the nitty-gritties, some of the achievements, some of the failures, and where there is a need for looking or putting in more energy. And of course, to discuss this, I'm privileged to host one of the persons that I know has vast knowledge when it comes to breaking down issues of the NRM governance. He will be introducing himself in just a few. Good morning, sir.
Morning. Morning, and morning of viewers. I'm called Utima Konopesa Levy, and I analyze politics in whatever broader ways, in whatever ways it comes.
Okay.
Yes.
And thank you for making time for us today morning. We are privileged to have you here.
I'm much obliged.
It is an early morning with the Kampala's jam and each and everything.
Yes, yes.
In some cases you need to jump on a border maybe to make it
that is the norm. That is the norm of Kampala. If you have lived here, you should always know that to beat time at times we always employ other means.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we'll dive into the discussion just right now.
Yes.
The NRM manifesto. It has been an NRM manifesto week since last week. Yesterday we did see the Minister for East African Affairs, the first Deputy Prime Minister. We did see the Minister of ICT, all summing up the manifesto week with giving some of the achievements that they've so far arrived at. What is the NRM manifesto week to begin with?
Yeah, NRM manifesto, thank you very much, my brother. NRM manifesto, first we should be able to understand and rather break it down to the people that possibly the government is serving or that are subscribing to this government. The NRM manifesto first is one that we're looking at 4 pillars. And if you're to look at the pillars, they were initially 9 or 10, but then they were broken down to 4. And when you're looking at that, you're looking at democracy, and then socio-economic transformation. And then you're looking at patriotism, that is nationalism, and then the last one will be looking at Pan-Africanism. So when you're to tear it down, you'll find that the performances should be varying within the 4 pillars. And if you're to really review what has been going on with the manifesto week, you get to understand that initially the theme has been in line with the socio-economic transformation and development. And for the past 2 years since the NRM victory, we have registered a few hiccups, though we have also been having a lot of inflation. But those should be hindered because we have come from a situation, rather a crisis that really had put our economy at a standstill. But then you're understanding that we are looking at how the manifesto should be friendly to everyone, rather focusing on prosperity and then safety of Ugandans. How then can we build a platform using our own initiatives as a party to try and propel the country? Uganda is within the East African community. We think Uganda is among the fast-growing economies. that is actually by 47% on that rate. And if you're to look at, we've been majorly dwelling on ICT sector, how we utilize the ICT to transform and pass an agenda that's going to build our country, create jobs and so on. Then also looking at how we can utilize the opportunities within the agricultural sector. Very much, I'm happy because Ministry of Agriculture has really, done its best this time around to try and reach out to most of the parts of the region. And then you can even see, last time I was reading within the budget that there has been an allocation of 40 billion through the parish development model, and that is going to be directed to Karamoja sub-region.
Mr. Tim,
yes.
If I can just, come in there, let us look at, for the past 2 years, since 2021, we are now in the year 2023. What are some of those achievements that the NRM can be boasting of for the past 2 years, for this mandate that was renewed in the year 2021?
Yeah, I can say we looking at the initiatives that have been introduced within this short time and the period. We will be looking at what initially the PDM together with how the MIOGAs have sat. Though there's a low turn-up, I want to believe that we still have time to keep on adjusting and build the capital. I mean, that's the human capital. That is the mindset change, so that people can become more productive. We should also look at the education sector, the curriculum. Those are most of the funded ministries, the sectors that should be governing and then, propel. The curriculum that have been introduced rather are the one that give you to become a self-reliant person. You don't depend so much on those that are disseminating information, but rather you should be self-reliant. You should be more of a researcher, and then you should be able to create a platform in which that you can be able to lift yourself, create jobs, and then we stop on the path of being job seekers. But looking at the manifesto in a broader way, the way you have spoken, you understand that before we went into elections, we had already the NRM government had introduced 8 cities, something to do with cities, and then created more municipalities.
Haven't these become a failed project?
No, not failed project.
Has totally failed when it comes to funding the cities.
Not failed project. Let me tell you, see, in any way of project management, or in case you're introducing something new to fit into society, there's always that adjustment that is required. And when you look at the cities, first there's been an expansion. If you visit most of the cities, I've been to Arua, I've been to Gulu, even my own home district, I've been to Soroti. Initially I come from Kumi, that has the best road network. But when you look at Soroti, and then you have to look at places like Mbale, you find that in each of the cities there's what we call industrial hubs are being created. And those are all going to be points of jobs. Even when you go to the much highlighted the Kapeka or Nakasongola, you find that there are lots and lots of industrial parks. Now, some of these initiatives are what have come in to try and streamline, break down the system. There's been a lot of congestion in the capital city. We try and decentralize the capital city into the other cities. So we create jobs and then you see them grow. Of course, it is going to take some time, but since we have an agenda and we have that pipeline, I believe that everything is going to come up.
Isn't the congestion in the capital city, Kampala, which is evident enough, being of course created by the NRM's lack of providing the services that are in the city here in those other up-country districts?
No, I would not say, I would not bring it in such a manner, but rather I would put it in a way that you see, for NRM has given people the platform. NRM has given people the liberty to do anything that they wish to do. That's why you see that they don't have any restrictions. But the fact that there is room for adjustment, may I believe that that can pose development. If you're to see the development and whatever that is being taken on in the capital city, you find that it is moving towards transformative, kind of development. And I want to believe that it is only a matter of time, and then you begin seeing the changes that we're trying to impose as the government.
Okay, when you look at the NRM manifesto, it did, of course, point on creating more jobs. That is one point, because I want us to focus on point by point.
Yes.
It did point out on creating more jobs, more opportunities for the youth, who do, of course, make at least 75% of Uganda's population.
Yes.
Now, we have increased labor externalization. We have increased numbers of our youths, moving out of Uganda to Abu Dhabi, to, Qatar, to those countries in the Middle East to seek for employment, where they are continuously, finding difficulties. Some even lose their lives there, and there is failure to, repatriate their remainings. Hasn't the NRM government failed at this?
No, I believe that if you're to look at that angle, externalization of labor, we would be looking at Ministry of Gender. That is within the NRM. We're tearing it down.
It is under
now,
the NRM government.
NRM government. So I believe that we still have, of course, as a government, you can't solely, as a government, I want to believe that there are certain hindrances or points that they have not accomplished. And one of them should be how to break down on the unemployment rate. I believe that within the current percentages, we have over 60% jobs created. But then you see people rather limit on their lifestyle. If I, in person, wouldn't want to get out of Kampala city and relocate myself to the new areas that have these particular jobs, of course, then that limits me. But then I will be looking at greener pastures. How can I broaden myself? I also have expectations as a human being. So when you look at the current stand, I partly want to believe that there are solutions or other decisions that government is taking up to sort out this, this current crisis or, incidents. And I want to believe that as an individual, I would be offering my own opinion. But then let's wait and see what government has in play. I believe that currently they should be looking into that matter of unemployment. How would we tackle? Because it is so demanding. You can see that the number of cases just previously, we witnessed a scenario where public service had advertised 218 jobs, and almost 34,000
did apply for those jobs.
Did apply for the jobs. But then you get to understand that within those that have applied, possibly a half or a quarter already have jobs they are partaking on. But people want to look at what they also have their expectations. So you'll find that you might be earning, but then that is not what you're looking at. So I think as government, then we should be looking at the particular department or ministry that is in line with this kind of this kind of path. I mean, that is in line with the employment and so on. That's Ministry of Gender. No, what can we do? The gender needs to create ideas or decisions to expand or to break down this, so that people can literally be able to, people can easily be accommodated.
How about the NRM failing to create the jobs in Uganda? Because, you look at the population of Uganda, which is continuously increasing. We are now about 45 million Ugandans. And, the failure, the problem does start from here, Uganda, even before we go to exporting our own Ugandans. Because we would say the NRM government has failed to create the jobs for Ugandans, and that is why they have to move abroad.
No, I don't think NRM as a government has failed to create the jobs. I would say that the demand is currently a little high,
and how can it meet the
expectations? But then like I told you, that the agenda was to create over 600 to 1 million jobs, and that is what I read, I think, in the manifesto before we went in for elections. And if you're to look at what is currently happening, the president himself is in the Greater Masaka city, and he's also trying to take an approach on that. He's trying to launch a new industrial parks and hubs that have been, established in those particular regions. The other time he was in the north and was also alongside launching a few. He was also trying to settle security disputes that's between the Karamajongs and cattle wrestlers. But then let's look at what we as Uganda can easily accommodate. You understand that we as a country, we are a poor state. Let me say we are still being considered as a third world country. Now, our growth, if you look at it, is a promising economy. It's promising in that it's growing steadily at a steady rate. We may be having challenges at the moment, but then let's not dispute the fact that the government is really trying to offer solutions. Okay,
so should Ugandans be satisfied with what the government is offering and not, push for more? Because Ugandans would say we deserve more.
Surely, we as Ugandans, to some extent, should be satisfied. Of course, a human being satisfaction differs. And my own satisfaction might be at the same rate with yours. So, as Ugandans, we should appreciate our country, and that's where patriotism and nationalism comes in. That we have been given a platform as Ugandans, and then what do? Alongside looking onto government, we as the citizens should build our country. We as the citizens should love our country and make sure that whatever we establish is for the good of our country.
Now let us look at some of the NRM promises. NRM has for maybe the past 40 years branded itself as a country that is, rather as a party that is bringing about steady progress to the ordinary Ugandan, to each and every Ugandan, maybe ordinary or not ordinary, but a Ugandan. How is the steady progress reflecting? Because we understand by the time the NRM government did come into power, there were other governments, and looking at one of the governments, in the government of Dr. Milton Obote, the government of the late Idi Amin Dada. These are the governments that did create some of the infrastructures that we are currently seeing. Let's speak hospitals, the likes of Mengo. Let's speak of the traditional schools that are still standing up until now. We have the likes of the Mbara High Schools, the likes of Gayaza High School, the entire schools. All those schools are some of the schools that were there even way before the NRM government did come into power. Some did even teach some of the people that are in the government currently and boosting of the steady progress. Is this steady progress when we are not seeing new developments coming about?
No, we see when we look at it in that particular angle, then we miss the point. But I want to believe that as government, there are certain initiatives that have been created. And then when you look at the previous governments and then the current government, of course, there are a lot that should be compared, but then we don't take that angle. Whatever that was created by the previous governments and has been absorbed by the current government, that is a tick. We appreciate and say, let's move on. And then when you look at the traditional schools, of course, you see, if we had a challenge in trying to streamline, or rather, continue with the traditional schools or whatever projects that were in the previous governments had already been, shock absorbed, then we would be having a challenge as a country and an economy. But then you see that most of the things that were in the previous governments have all been, taken forward. And then the NRM government is just trying to touch and then add and then do an upgrade into what was previously there. Those are foundations that were built by our predecessors, and you can't remove them. The few that had been removed, through privatization and so on, was because of that very, at that particular state, there were rather projects or rather, government initiatives that maybe at that point were not adding value. But then I'm very happy that government, through the same manifesto, have accepted that they want to create a cooperative bank. Now, cooperative banks, if you're to look at the current Kenyan economy, that is what they absorbed. They created the cooperative banks, and those are the banks that helped, the citizens. They would borrow loans at a much, smooth, or rather, let's say, they would borrow loans that were not so, suppressing. And these were loans that would help them to boost, and then they pay. That's how you see Kenya grew up, because most of the people that borrowed loans through the groupings or the circles were people that were involved in coffee, mostly particular agriculture, and then also other ventures. But then you can see the economy of Kenya has grown, and then it has also helped in establishing other banks. Okay. So if this in particular will help boost our economy and then revive back the other rather parastatals or initiatives that were lacking, then it's a fair play for us.
Let me maybe rephrase it broadly so that we can be able to touch other different sectors.
Yes.
And of course that is in regards to service delivery by the NRM government.
Yes.
We have issues of infrastructure developments. Infrastructure does of course play a huge role in the development of the economy of Uganda, which is one of the key points that the NRM manifesto is standing on. But then we have dilapidated roads in Kampala, starting with Kampala, which is one of the regions that does provide a lot to maybe the budget or the tax base of Uganda as a nation. We have different dilapidated roads. We have different dilapidated bridges. We have the Katonga Bridge is one of the examples that I can give you at least now. We have different laws that do of course protect wetlands in Uganda, but then we are seeing them not being followed. We are seeing people still growing rice, growing sand mining in the wetlands, which of course is contributing to the destruction of some of these infrastructures. What happens if infrastructure in Uganda is at the rate at which it is now?
No, when you look at infrastructure, we possibly would be looking at the key, or rather the crisis, what we currently occurred. When you look at the Katonga Bridge, then you understand that possibly the encroachment on the wetlands could have caused it. But then let's go back to what the directives the president put across that are directed to NEMA, that anyone that has occupied a particular wetlands should be vacated, should be evicted from those points, because you can see the suckers that came, losing a bridge and then infrastructure going down. Of course, that tears down on our transport system, the flow of goods and then services. And but when you talk about dilapidated roads and so on, I want to also pass this across, that when you travel across the country, nationwide, you find that there are some areas that have already in the process of rehabilitation. And then there are some other areas that have already been, put into budget, and they are supposed to commence, to be constructed, or they're supposed to commence, the construction. But then when we look at, possibly you're looking at the capital city that has been having rather a lot of issues about the potholes and then so on. But then a few weeks ago, the president occasioned, he passed and said he accepted and directed that 80-something billion should go towards that direction. He did
say at least 6 billion.
6
should
billion.
be, allocated to the construction of roads in Kampala.
Yes. So that alone, of course, you understand that there's been laxity, or rather, KCCA authority has been rather reluctant in some of the roads, and that has caused a little hiccup somewhere, because there's been ongoing, construction of flyovers within the other, and then government can't be able to run a lot of initiatives on projects, but rather program them in particular periods, and then begin lobbying for money.
No, if I can come in there,
yes,
with the lobbying, with the president directing that at least 6 billion should be allocated to rehabilitation of these roads. Looking at the problem of potholes, road construction, these are projects that of course government has in mind and knows that at some point there will be a need to rehabilitate there will be a need to, you know, work here and there, do some maintenance for some of these roads. It is something that is, you know, in the know of government. However, looking at, you know, the money that is allocated to, you know, these maintenance programs, rehabilitation programs, 6 billion cannot even construct, you know, one road in Kampala or even Uganda, because we've had different roads. I can give an example of the ring road that did cost around 9.6 billion shillings according to the allocations of KCCA. You know, what then is the problem? If government can detect these problems, if it knows the problems, what continuously is the problem?
No, I think we also have to look at how we, as the government and then other bodies relate. You see entirely KCCA is been under the hands of the Lord Mayor. And then, you know, as government, we really have also to put politics aside. And then in case there's any angle for us to act, let it be on humanitarian basis, or rather, let it be on terms other than having party affiliations. If we're looking at any developments for this city, let's look at humanity first. We are serving, as leaders, we serve others, you know. That is the main purpose of a leader. Your work is to serve others. And then, but when you look at Kampala, we've been seeing that the same thing. I will tell you that there has been reluctancy in how things are handled. Some parts of Kampala literally very, you know, are developed, and there's ongoing, you know, upgrades of roads and so on. But then, particularly when you're looking at the potholes, that is what has, you know, that is the main
because they are
issue
everywhere.
Right now.
I would say they are everywhere.
Yeah, the potholes are everywhere, and I think even when you go up to the sides of Chiwatule, going towards there are potholes. So that is a problem. But then I want to believe that the money that has been allocated is not entirely to, you know, rather, you know, rehabilitate. I mean, to start these roads from the scratch, or but to rehabilitate them, to make them easily, you know,
but
usable.
There are some of those roads that are completely, you know, impassable. Even when the government does try to rehabilitate, they cannot be rehabilitated. Yes. They are completely, you know, destroyed beyond, you know, being repairable. No,
but I want to believe the government really has an agenda, because you see, when we try to cut off one problem, there should be other solutions for this other problem. So those that have not been rehabilitated, I want to believe that government is paying a keen ear to them. And then through those initiatives, they will also come and then work on those particular roads.
Okay. Yes. Now, as a person who has continuously, you know, been in the know of issues to do with politics, to do with the development, governance of the NRM government, which has so far ruled for 40 years, you know, way older than some of us. What are some of those things that now we can say the NRM government has failed to do, and there is a need for them to add in more energy?
Looking at that, I would be able to tell you that I think where government really has a shortfall, it should be on something to do with how to streamline on certain policies, or rather achievements. I mean, some initiatives that should be followed. The only weakness I can say is that we have a problem in human capital. Social human capital, where we as government, possibly I can say that the mentorship rate is really lacking. There's been a gap between the current leadership and then the upcoming leadership. Now, between the two, you will be seeing that if the current leadership eventually, you know, tends to go and retire, how is the new upcoming, or they call it the generational leadership? How
transition,
are they
going, transition.
Transition. You've used the right word. So that is the current shortfall that we have as government. What I would really advise or suggest would be for an orientation kind of mechanism, mentor the young tasks, or the young leaders to love their country, because when you look at when you look at the space and you study the behavior of people towards the country and its leadership, you find that it is lacking. There's a lot of criticism, there's a lot of negative approach towards how the current leadership is handling its affairs, and that can cause a disaster. Because if you want to grow a system that is parallel and negative, then it will tear down this country and even fail to build it. Now, the issue of NRM has been that we, as a party or as a government, should be able to mentor the young generation so that it can be able and prepared to take on whatever. Whether they are taking on a country that has a lot of potholes and a country that has a lot of issues, I know they will embrace and then try to build and adjust.
And then in relation to transition, we've seen the party president of DP, that is the Minister of Constitutional of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Honorable Norbert Mao, speak or even sing transition, and we are seeing another faction developing from the NRM government that is led by the first son. What would be your comment? What is your comment on that situation of another standby generator, as it is being put by the people who subscribe to that party?
A standby generator comes in at a time when the country is trying to rather embrace a transition, form of or change, and having the current president of DP, join the NRM party on a collaborative effect is a good initiative for us, and it also shows that we are open as NRM is open to working with any party affiliates.
But is there hope for that transition? Because with the new generation of the NRM government, that is particularly led by the first son, we've seen some NRM historicals deny them a chance to also boost of wanting to contribute to the party. What does this reflect when it comes to transition in Uganda?
That's why I brought in the issue of lack of mentorship, lack of an orientation mechanism to try and fit in the young generation into the current affairs of NRM party. And you see, I can also give a few examples. That is what tore down KANU as a political party in Kenya. When the leadership that he was into play later handed in the tools, there was no one to take on the initiative. That's why you see that a very strong, formidable party like KANU, had to go down the reins up to today. Have you heard about KANU? It's a one-man party too. So as NRM, even as we go on with this is entirely very good work. We have really, done up to a much, greater effect. But then the angle that I'm talking about is that of orienting and then mentoring young generational leaders that are going to take on Mbanto. And it's not going to begin today. It should even have started yesterday. That there should be young people that are ready. But then you see that has been a problem. There's been a rift between the MK army and then NRM because of possibly misguidance or misinformation. But I'm very happy that the senior himself, His Excellency the President, has come in and then is trying to really close on those gaps and whatever that has been created.
Now, let us speak one of the biggest problems of Uganda, corruption. Yes. How is it defeating NRM's government to implement its manifesto?
Corruption has really been an issue that the NRM government has faced. If I'm to rate it, to almost 60–70%. And then even if you see the scandals that have been occurring, of course, me as one that is affiliated or subscribed to NRM, I wouldn't love to speak about particularly what has happened. It's a very big embarrassment. But then you see, at one point or another, we have to come clean if we really need to move as a party and as a government. First of all, the iron sheet scandals, and then whatever that has been happening, all that entirely is something that is very shameful. And then, of course, you have seen there are already people that have been put into
jail,
into play, and of course that is not a good image. But then I don't want us to look at the NRM government as a government that has initially, or rather, been governed through corruption. We have seen incidences or situations where the president himself has come, IGG has come, we have anti-corruption unit under State House, and all those have been arresting people. Just even, I think last week or so, people were apprehended from local governments in Lira, in Soroti. They arrested some district engineers for shoddy work and so on. So literally, I want to believe that the anti-corruption unit and then also the new protectorate of diaspora or investors that is under Nakalema, all these have been formulated or created to try and break down on the issue of corruption. But then also, when you look at NRM and then previously the other governments that have, you know, served Uganda, you find that the level of corruption is almost minimal.
Okay, yes. I would like to borrow this Luganda saying where they say, for a fish to rot, it starts from the head.
Yes.
Now, you speak about these, you know, anti-corruption units. You speak about the IGG's office. You're speaking about, you know, the different projects that have been put in place to fight corruption. But then we are seeing them tackle, just like you said, the local council officials, district officials. How about the top ministers? This is a corruption scandal, the Karamoja Anchit scandal, that is touching, you know, junior ministers, ministers of Karamoja. But there are other big fishes that are involved deep down there. How enough can Ugandans be satisfied that they can be ruled by a government of you know, corruption? I've
seen that you see most issues of corruption, just like you have stated, within the cabinet ministers, or rather the ministers, the junior ministers in charge of Karamoja. I want to believe that we have an issue within the civil service. The technical people mostly are the ones that so much play around with the games. But then, of course, you understand that we as a nation entirely, we can't be focusing on people that the president has, you know, profiled. Those are profiled people. And I want to believe action is going to be taken upon them. There are investigations that are still ongoing. And I want to believe that action is going to be taken. But then, like you say, that a fish rots from the head. When you fail to tackle corruption from the under, or from, you know, the bottom, the grassroots, of course, that's where the roots begin rotting from, before the fruits rot. So the fruits, for the fruits to get rotten, the corruption begins from there.
Are you saying
so
that
if there are people that are being apprehended, and particularly we are looking at those from the local, within the local governments, because you see most of our revenue is generated, or rather some of the revenue that is generated from the local governments. Now that is where the money is, because government, you know, central government always has to remit money in tunes of 20 to 40 to 60 billion to serve and then govern these local governments. Now that is a lot of money to be, you know, to be played around with, because if one man swindles 500 million or 1 billion and is within local, you know, government, or, you know, from the under, that is very bad, because that is where it begins from. When you look at central government, there's already eyes and whistleblowers that have vital information, and that's why you're seeing that there are parallel systems. This IGG is already been established, it's been there for a very long, for ages, but then the anti-corruption based in State House is to check what IGG is doing. Then there's another system that is to check what is being done.
That is the principle of checks and balances that I would say still has a lot of issues in Uganda, because when you look at starting from the governance issues, the three arms of government, the judiciary, the executive, the legislature, the independence of those bodies, which is a topic that we cannot, dwell on right now. But yes, let us speak the Parish Development Model Project, which is one of the key poverty alleviating programs the NRM government has fronted. The president, as we speak now, is in Masaka, trying to see how he can speak to the people about the project. We've seen some warnings being given by the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni to different legislators, particularly Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi and Honorable Lutamaguzi Samakula of Nakaseke, about spreading hate speech when it comes to the PDM project. Has the Parish Development Model Project suffered a stillbirth like other poverty alleviation programs?
When you look at poverty, when you look at parish development model and how it was created and from its initiation, you find that it is barely even 1 year old.
Okay.
And for it to come in and then it is at a high gear, I want to believe that it is a collective effort for us right now. One initiative that has been created by government to try and reach down to the people to 37%, 37 to 40% of the hard to reach population, the population of communities that a whole parish can't even raise up to 10 million, is being serviced with almost 100 million to try and then broaden or post development in the specific fields or lines of businesses that they have been operating in. Let me tell you, I have been down to those communities. And when I speak about those communities, I'm speaking about where I come from. From Kumi district, Nyero sub-county, Ogoma sub-county, my own village. There are people that barely can't even afford 1,000. And to them, when you speak to them, I have been with them, I have interacted with them. When you speak to them, these are people that appreciate what government is doing. They're saying if government has come up with this parish model and it is even here, we can see it. I myself am a beneficiary, I've already gotten this money, and this is what I am doing. I put this here, if I am to harvest this is what I am going to get, and then I will be able to remit back that money and proceed with what I'm doing. It is helping them.
Now, when you look at the PDM project, it has a lot of, maybe if I can call them assumptions, because we are assuming, since just like you said, it is a 1 year old project. There is an assumption that, people do pick the money, go invest. After investing, repay back the money slowly by slowly. But then you're talking to people that are already having difficulties when it comes to paying off some of the small mortgages they do get from different circles. Looking at the whole assumption of the parish development model being a success, it is already being infiltrated with corruption. The bureaucracy that is involved, if at all one is to benefit from the parish development model project. How does this, build to the success or failure of the project?
No, you see, when you look at that, you're doing what they call the SWOT analysis. First of all, the strengths and then the weaknesses, and then overview of how we handle this. But then, I will be basing on the strengths. Okay. It is a 1 year project. We're yet to review the reports or the outcome of the 1 year. The money that has been dispersed, dispersed disbanded to the people, how has it affected? How has it, posed the effect into their lives? We're yet to get those reports. I believe that currently, the leadership of NRM is trying to reach as much as possible in all those areas, trying to cover up a wider scale, preaching the idea of preaching the gospel of PDM. I think last week we had the Minister of Finance in charge of general duties, that is Honorable Henry. Yes, in Ibanda also was trying to really, talk to them. The community, you would see the excitement they had. And all of them were receiving this money according to the parishes that they subscribe to. So, and then also, alongside that, we're already seeing that there's already money that has also been, put aside to handle anyone that is in line with the parish and those that are supervising, the parish chiefs, those that are supervising the exercise, have also been given some money. So you can see that I think there's going to be a limit in how we handle these affairs, because
just a little bit,
Yes.
When you look at this money that is being given, let's say maybe it is 100 million per parish,
Yes.
and these are different parish circles that are involved.
Yes.
And specifically, let me point to the money that is being given to, let's say maybe a circle. It could be, let's say 1 million Uganda shillings being given to at least one circle, because we have different circles. For example, the money is 1 million, and on this 1 million, the person allocating the money to a particular circle says, I'll give you 800,000. These are some of the reports coming in from the public, coming in from the people that are benefiting from this project. Already we are seeing 800,000 shillings not being able to, cater for maybe, let's say, the 10 people that could be in a circle. Isn't this already defeating the success of the program even before it celebrates its third birthday?
Now, I don't think that there's any defeat in what the government is trying to emphasize in line with PDM. But then let's look at it from a broader aspect, that we, the people that are beneficiaries are picking up things. And then I also believe that there's going to be a time when reports are going to be governed. There's going to be a different team dispatched from possibly the secretariat or from government to go and catch up, on most of these scenarios. You see what is happening with the Myoga. There are already people being arrested and apprehended. In my own district, the other days they had to go and apprehend people that were defaulting. But I'm very happy and appreciative through his efforts that he managed to apprehend, and he managed to recover some of the money.
Won't this be the norm of arresting people that have failed the program?
You see,
just like other projects.
It is it is a behavior in human beings. Even those that go and pick money from commercial banks or financial services sometimes default, and then you have to use other means or mechanisms to try and pick up the money. That is a human behavior. But the only thing is that as government, we have brought up an initiative that is trying to pose and bring a change. And then this is just not something that was formulated, or rather started from within us. It is something that was benchmarked.
Okay.
Looking at countries like China, looking at countries like Netherlands, that already have these systems that have rather propelled them. You can see that the same system was used in Netherlands, and it managed to bring up to the creation and formation of a banking institute under farmers, the one that has the highest liquidity.
Shouldn't then government focus on creating these banking institutions for farmers, these local circles, instead of giving the local leaders the mandate to distribute this money, to create the groups, to organize the communities? Because when you're going to a financial institution, you are already organized, and these ones have a little bit of more accountability, I believe. That is comparing them to the local councils being the people to man the projects. Don't you think the focus should be put on creating these circles, these different banks, instead of the money being given to local leaders?
Initially, the idea has been in that direction. But then you see, we begin with how people manage money. How do you manage money? How do you handle money? That is how we are creating the circles.
Okay.
Then from the circles, then you can be able to create a financial institution. Because the circle, if you have a circle within your parish or community, and you give people money at a fair interest rate, and then they easily pay it back, then of course the capital is going to increase, and then when it reaches a certain point, then you can be able to go into a microfinance.
Okay.
You find that there are districts that have microfinance. They give money to small scale farmers and small scale businesses within communities. So that is the direction. Also looking at how Kenya has been handling affairs using the SACCO systems and so on. I don't think there's anything that is very different from what.
Well, maybe in just a few seconds, if you could give us your parting shots and what you make of the whole situation.
No, the whole situation is come. We, as the NRM government, is coming using the manifesto week to sensitize Ugandans on how and then where and what direction that we are going to. And I'm very happy because through the government citizen interaction center that is under State House, that information has been dispatched and is rather summarized. You can access them through the Twitter handles and then any other platform to get that information. And it is also one platform that has really, is communication between the citizens and government. Anything that you want to know and anything that you want to do, anything that you want to raise, you can always reach them. And then also to the people, let's embrace our country. Let's practice and then preach nationalism and patriotism. It also begins from us, the media people. If there are any challenges, we can always sit down and then dialogue, and then we seek. This is how policies and ideas and solutions, come to conclusion. Thank you.
Well, of course, I would say that is what we had for you today. I will not be exceeding here as we are already time bad. But of course, that was the discussion we'd have for you today as we did deliberate on matters of the NRM manifesto for the year 2021 to the year 2026. My name is Bruce Mugabi, and I will be calling it quits. Have a good morning.